right, guys, there is a war going on, and it is a ideological war on green energy. And it's happening now, and it's happening between the, let's say, Trump administration and states like ours here in Massachusetts that continuously push this green energy policy on us and is simultaneously making us foot the bill. They're making us foot the bill by upgrading our infrastructure so that it could accommodate these things, okay? It's stuck in our bills in terms of the delivery, right? So I had this video recorded and I thought it was fine, but I was like, you know what? I just want to read what was written here because it was just so well written and also show you, okay, what is happening. I haven't done this in a long time where I read some of this stuff, but I also want to show you what the cost is, because the cost to the consumer by 2050, if we were to be net zero carbon, is absolutely astronomical. It is unbelievable. And I feel like not enough people are paying attention to this and to the numbers, because what happens is, I will say this much before I get into it. So it's very easy to make, let's say, green energy look more affordable when you are buying energy from other countries like Iran. And as a matter of fact, that's why I think the Biden administration they implemented the Green New Deal, right? And they cut off, let's say, fracking and all of these other things to try to protect the climate. But yet we're spending millions upon millions, if not billions upon billions of dollars in these other countries, making these other countries rich while they're still emitting the same levels of carbon. It's just not happening in our backyard. And who's paying for it is us. And how we're paying for it is within our energy bills. So the Biden administration simultaneously enacted all of these Green New Deal things, right? And decided to buy gas and buy energy from out of state. So what in turn happened was they increased the cost. Like, look at the cost of gas during the Biden administration. It was astronomical. It was insane, the cost of gas. Because what happens is, if the cost of gas and fossil fuels is high, it makes on paper, let's say, this Green New Deal and green energy look attractive, because there is a ratio there where, hypothetically speaking, let's say the cost of fuel for our vehicles and so on and so forth got so out of reach that statistically, based on data, green energy would be attractive, right? It's a way to manipulate the data. Whether they did that on purpose or not, I don't know. And nobody else was talking about this, at least not to my knowledge. So I figured I would bring it up. But again, if you have an increased amount of, let's say, energy that you're buying from out of state, which is in turn a cost that's being put on the consumer, like to fill your car for gas, and then you do reports on how this Green New Deal is so attractive, you're basically manipulating the data, okay? And you're manipulating that data to look more attractive because everything else is so high, right? That's basically what they did. So this is Donald Trump's and his administration's answer to this. And what's happening now is all of these states that have these green policies that they keep on pushing are up in arms over this, right? And they're more than likely up in arms over this because they got money from donors of these organizations, these advocacy groups of the Green New Deal. I don't know that for sure, but I'm sure if I were to look up the donor list, I could probably put two and two together, right? So I'm going to share my screen with you here and go over some of this. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I want to show you what's happening. And Ed Markey actually left a couple comments, and I will show you what it's going to cost you. All right, because it is insane. So he went on to say, my administration is committed to unleashing American energy, especially through the removal of all illegitimate impediments to the identification, development, siting, production, investment in, or use of domestic energy resources, particularly oil, natural gas, coal, hydropower, geothermal, biofuel, critical mineral, and nuclear energy resources. An affordable and reliable domestic energy supply is essential to the national and economic security of the United States, as well as our foreign policy. Simply put, Americans are better off when the United States is energy dominant. I agree. American energy dominance is threatened when state and local governments seek to regulate energy beyond their constitutional or statutory authorities. For example, when states target or discriminate against out-of-state energy producers by imposing significant barriers to interstate and international trade, American energy suffers and the equality of each state enshrined by the Constitution is undermined. Similarly, when states subject energy producers to arbitrary or excessive fines through retroactive penalties or seek to control energy development, siting, or production activities on federal land, American energy suffers. So, I will say this much. It seems as though the Constitution only applies to our local politicians when it benefits them the most. But when it applies to them on a federal level, they're all up in arms. That's basically what happens here. And what they're saying is, in terms of excessive fines, these arbitrary fines and retroactive penalties. So a perfect example of this is, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but I do. So back in 2019, Maura Healey, as Attorney General, she filed a lawsuit against ExxonMobil. And the lawsuit was in regards to ExxonMobil basically trying to say that they manipulated data on their reporting of the effects of fossil fuels on the climate. Okay? That's what the lawsuit was about. It was never won, of course. It's still ongoing. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to not only tell us what we have to use, they're not only charging us for what we have to use in terms of upgrading infrastructure, but they're also suing the companies that are trying to supply affordable energy throughout our country. That is what's happening. Many states have enacted or are in the process of enacting burdensome and ideological motivated climate change or energy policies that threaten American energy dominance and our economic and national security. New York, for example, enacted a climate change extortion law that seeks to retroactively impose billions in fines on traditional energy producers for their purported past contributions to greenhouse gas emissions, not only in New York, but also anywhere in the United States and the world. Vermont similarly extorts energy producers for alleged past contributions to greenhouse gas emissions anywhere in the United States or the globe. Other states have taken different approaches in an effort to dictate national energy policy. Here we go. California, for example, punishes carbon use by adopting impossible caps on the amount of carbon businesses may use, all but forcing businesses to pay large sums to trade carbon credits to meet California's radical requirements. We could potentially head down that path as well. Some states delay review of permit applications to produce energy, creating de facto barriers to entry into the energy market. States have also sued energy companies for supposed climate change harm under nuance or other tort regimes that could result in crippling damages. Again, if you're suing a company that's producing your energy is like cutting off your nose to spite your face. And that's exactly what Maura Healey did. These state laws and policies weaken our national security and devastate Americans by driving up energy costs for families coast to coast, despite some of these families not living or voting in states where with these crippling policies. These laws and policies also undermine federalism by projecting the regulatory preferences of states into all states. Americans must be permitted to heat their home, fuel their cars, and have peace of mind, free from policies that make energy more expensive and inevitably degrade quality of life. That is something that a lot of people have forgotten about. These state laws and policies try to dictate interstate and international disputes over air, water, and natural resources, unduly discriminate against out-of-state businesses, contravene the equality of states, and retroactively impose arbitrary and excessive fines without legitimate justification. These state laws and policies are fundamentally irreconcilable with my administration's objective to unleash American energy. They should not stand. So, What's happening is the Attorney General, without boring you with the rest of what is going on here, basically what he's attempting to do is he's sending the Attorney General out to consult with the heads of these states and departments and agencies like us here, our DPU, and basically try to tell them that, like, this is just ludicrous, because it would be one thing if the states wanted to pay for these things, but when the states are being sneaky and they're providing us the bill in the delivery fee because, you know, companies like Eversource and so on and so forth had to upgrade their infrastructure, we're basically prepaying for future green initiatives. That's what's happening. That is one of the reasons why your energy bills are so high. We are prepaying for things that we don't even have yet and that we don't even know are going to actually come to fruition. It's unbelievable to me. And it goes on to say here, this is important. It says, within 60 days of the date of this order, the Attorney General shall submit a report to the President through the Council to the President regarding actions taken under subsection of this section. So the fact is, they're not 60 days, right? They're giving the Attorney General 60 days to figure this shit out and to make a course correction here, because that's effectively what needs to happen. I'm quite sick of paying these insane energy bills. I'm also, you know, I get these phone calls from people that they literally are in a position where they're deciding whether they're going to buy groceries this week or this month or pay for their energy bill. It's insane to me. It's insane to me. It really is. And this is another instance where collateral damage, this is okay collateral damage, right? This is okay collateral damage for our legislature and our lawmakers to enact on us. But when the collateral damage is on the other end, and let's say somebody gets arrested mistakenly that may not be an illegal immigrant or whatever, they throw their hands up. That's the first thing that the news talks about. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? It's absolutely, it's hypocrisy, right? This is what it is. It's really unbelievable that more people are not waking up to what is happening in their backyards. And I think a lot of it has to do, like, people have these bills on auto pay and they don't really pay attention to what is actually happening because, again, a lot of people here, they have a lot of money. They may not care about the rising bills and so on and so forth. And they're sitting there with their luxury beliefs that this is okay. But the fact is, this is stuff that I think the majority of people are not happy about, okay? The majority of people are not happy about this. So what the Trump administration is attempting to do is bring down the cost of energy for people where they could have a quality of life. Whatever happened to quality of life? It's something that people don't talk about anymore. Now it's the quality of life at the expense at the quality of life. That's basically what it is, meaning that we are paying for our own demise, right? Like, look at it this way. We are funding the sins for future generations. That's basically what is happening here. We are the ones that have to pay for all of this stuff, and this is stuff that we may not even see come to fruition. So look at it this way. Imagine Trump puts a complete halt on all of this green energy stuff, and we've spent tons upon tons of money trying to get there, right? It's foolish. It's wasteful spending. And our legislature is still advocating for these things. And let me show you this. Hang on one second. I'm going to pull this up for you. So let me go back to this and let me share this window with you. This is a report that was done, and Paul Craney shared this with me. This is the PDF version. All right. I'm just going to read you a little bit. I know this is a long video, guys, but this is so important. This is what it says. This was done by wizards, by the way, I think, or something, because the way this is done and the date on this is unbelievable. It says, additionally, New England's decarbonization plans compliance costs are driven by the need to build enough offshore wind turbines, onshore wind turbines, solar panels, battery storage facilities, and transmission lines to meet the emission requirements stipulated in the decarbonization policies enacted by the 5 states. Those are the New England states. Other factors that increase costs include the cost of building new generation generation assets. Figure 9 shows that on a per capita basis, the cumulative costs of these plans increases expenses for each person in New England by an additional $2,061 in 2030. That means your energy bills in total are going to go up almost $2,100 by 2030. By 2040, they're going up $15,500. And by 2050, they're going to go up over $50,000. Do you understand what is happening here? Look at this graph. This is the total cost per capita. This is what the numbers are. This is what we would effectively spend to get there. And here is why. This is the total cost per state to, let's say, get to this net zero carbon. All right. And this is by year. This is 2030. This is 2040. This is 2050. Massachusetts is going to have to spend over $400 billion, with probably the majority of that coming from the taxpayers, to get to net zero carbon. Now, what I haven't done, I should say, is reverse calculated this to see what it would cost to get natural gas pipelines through New York to New England and produce, let's say, domestic energy, which I think would be way more affordable than $400 billion. As a matter of fact, if you were to add all of these costs together, I mean, you're talking almost $800 billion, okay? $800 billion throughout New England. It is absolutely uncalled for, and it is absolutely something that we should not have to pay for. We should not have to prepay for an ideology that we're trying to save the planet, but meanwhile, we are still currently buying all of our resources from out of state that is still potentially harming the planet, okay? If we were going to do that, why not just do it within the bounds of our state and try to save the people within our state, the citizens within our state, the costs that are inflicted upon us? It's unbelievable to me that people are okay with this. I understand people have their own opinions on things. I'm not mindful of that. But when it comes to the cost of so many of your citizens, I feel as though that is completely irrational. Let me show you one more thing. Hang on one second here. This is what Ed Markey. This will probably be on the news. This was part of a like a press release through the states. I don't know if anybody even covered this yet, right? So this is what Ed Markey had to say, who was probably bought and paid for by the companies that want these green initiatives, okay? He said Trump's executive order to review state and local actions is a slippery slope to picking and choosing which states get stripped of their sovereignty, just as he is picking and choosing his billionaire donors to repay. Okay. Okay, it's only okay for him to do it, but not for the federal administration to do that. Okay, climate pollution knows no boundaries, and states and regions have the right to combat the climate crisis to protect their residents and economies. What about protecting our pocket? We are not being protected here. It is costing us money. How is that protecting us? It is no surprise that Trump is trying to prevent states such as Massachusetts from continuing their vital work to end our reliance on fossil fuels and deploy clean energy and climate solutions. In Massachusetts and across the country, climate action won't be stopped by any one president. At a time when leadership is not coming from the executive branch, bold solutions and transformational action at all levels of government are more important than ever. We must step up and protect the climate progress we have made. Spurred by the Inflation Reduction Act, I will continue fighting to ensure that Trump's big oil contributors and cabinet will not stop us from securing a healthy, livable future for all. Guess what? We're not going to see this future. We're not going to see it, right? I think that probably over time, not now, but I think over time, and I don't think this is in the near future, the problem with, as you've seen on a lot of the podcasts that I've done with engineers, so on and so forth, the issue is that technology has not caught up with what we need in order to be able to reliably use wind, solar, so on and so forth. Meaning that the cost of the, let's say, the cost of the material and the cost of the technology is very expensive. And it's expensive to the point where it is costing us thousands upon thousands of dollars of let's say infrastructure that we're paying for. Maybe 100 years from now, this could potentially be the answer. I'm not mindful of these things, right? Like, you have to see it from both sides of the spectrum to come up with an opinion. And my opinion is the future may be this, okay? The future may be solar. The future may be wind, but that future is not now. And by trying to enforce these things on people, I think it's ludicrous. I think a really good example of this is, like, remember what the cost of a computer was? Like, the very first computer and the size of it? Like, if you enforced every single person and said that computers are the future and that you need to use computers in order to do X, Y, or Z, and you enforce that cost onto the consumers could not afford something like that. This is a very realistic example of what we're seeing today. Most consumers would be much happier having to pay less for their energy bills. There's no doubt about it. If the future in 100 years and the technology in 100 years or 50 years or whatever the hell it may be catches up and the costs are a quarter of what they would be today, then it may be a good time to implement these things. So, like, I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea, but it is the wrong time for said idea. That is my opinion. And I think that Trump and his administration sees this. I don't think they're just firing from the hip per se, right? I think that they see these things and they see how upset people are with their energy bills, and they're trying to do something to curb that. They're trying to do something to put the citizens of the United States in a position where they are not struggling and where we regain quality of life, because we have not had quality of life. When you're deciding between paying your grocery bills or paying for your energy bills, that is a problem. It is a massive problem. And I hear this from a lot of people that are retired that can't afford an extra $100 a month or $200 a month. They can't cut any more. Okay? If they cut any more, they're going to be cutting food out of their mouths. It is unbelievable to me, and it's really a disgrace that is happening. And our lawmakers, this legislature, they are on, in my opinion, the wrong side of history. They could be on the right side of history if this was years into the future, but I don't think that is the case here. I think that our energy bills are going to continue to go up, and I think that they're going to still try to advocate for these things, and they're going to push the costs on us. And it's not fair. It is not fair to the consumers and the citizens of this state, and it's not fair to the consumers and the citizens of the United States. We shouldn't be buying energy when we have our own. I mean, it's as simple as that, right? Anyway, I'm sorry for the long video, guys. I know I ranted a lot here, but I needed to get this point across. And yeah, that's it for today's video. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.